Live.
Good morning, everyone. It is Saturday morning, March 14th, and we're here with Gardening Tips Live. And what is it? Glad you're all with. What is it? Hope you can find us and are able to join us today. My name is Amy Hahn, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener. And I'm joined by my friends and fellow Master Gardeners, Lee Cheek, Margot Emery, and Brian Townsend. And I'm gonna adjust things a little bit. There, that's better. And we're gonna get to talking gardening this morning. Um, what is it? There's definitely some things to talk I'm joined about. By my friends and oh, there I am. Oh, let's see. As soon as I can, I was gonna do. We've had folks ask us to do at everyone, and so I'm gonna do that. Because it helps people find this video when they want to watch us. Um, I figure some folks might be having a hard time since we've gone to every twice a month instead of every week. But um, if you haven't joined us before, or even if you have, we try to talk about what's going on currently in Knoxville and in our own gardens, and some of the public gardens around, and things you might look for and want to be doing right now. And we look at the weather and lots of different stuff. And so, what is it? I guess we're ready to, we usually start with a slideshow, and talk about different things that we're seeing in our gardens and in the places that we are through the week. And so, one of the things that I am really seeing is last week the daffodils were all beautiful, and with the 90-degree, well, not 90-degree temperatures, but high 70 temperatures, some this week, my daffodils have just about all faded in the front of my house. And why is that stopped playing? There we go. I'm sort of seeing the previews and I'm not seeing the previews, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Um,
Amy,
yeah.
while you're troubleshooting, I am adding daffodils to my front foundation bed next
Mm-hmm.
fall. And for people who don't inspect packages closely, there's early season, mid-season, late season daffodils, and I'm going to
Right.
go for early. Each one, though, is a roll of the
Mhm.
dice because if you get a hard freeze early,
Yeah.
your daffodils might not make it. But I've got a clump of early season ones that are here from the house that was previously built on my land,
Mhm.
and they were in bloom 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, and it was magical. They were so beautiful.
Oh,
And and
yeah.
So
and
look closely at the labels.
if you want some late ones, I got some lovely double narcissus that bloom in
Oh,
another 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Oh,
would like
Kathy
some,
White.
I would share with you. Yeah,
Kathy
thank
White
you.
asked, what are your thoughts about lamb's ear as a ground cover?
love it.
If you can get the one that doesn't tend to go to flower, there's a couple different varieties of it. That's really nice. It can get sort of, after a couple of years, it can get sort of messy underneath. So there is some maintenance to it, but it is lovely. We'll need some water in the summer, but it looks good through the winter if it's been cleaned up. Um, and so, yeah, I like it. And you can take so over time, it'll sort of grow us. Wait, I'm still sharing my picture. So let me stop sharing my picture, talk about this. So it'll grow. I actually don't know the variety names and they changed through time. So what I would do is I would look up non-blooming lamb's ear and just do a search for that. And Lee or Margot might be doing that right now and might have some ideas.
I
But
was
I know.
confirming it was non-native. It established itself somehow in our native pollinator garden.
Mhm.
Even though it's not from here, it's just gorgeous in the lawn.
Yeah. And I actually have some random seedlings in my lawn and in other places, but they're not a bother. They're easy to remove if you want to remove them. They're not like something that's going to take over the world.
Non-flowering primary cultivars are Helene von Stein and silver carpet. And Helene von Stein is also known as big ears, and I've seen that around here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because what can happen is with the flowering ones, they do a flower head and the rosette of leaves stretches out and it gets messy. So, yeah, one of those non-blooming cultivars is going to be a better choice for as a ground cover. But it is really pretty. I know one of my favorite pictures is actually um, what is it? I think it's chives in bloom with lamb's ear, the foliage behind it. Just really pretty.
Oh,
And another one is silver carpet,
yeah.
lamb's
Okay.
ear. And I went ahead and put the genus and species in the
Oh,
comment.
lovely.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to go back to the slideshow. And so we have, the daffodils are fading, but the irises are starting to come. And I'm starting to see the green from daffodils that are coming. Oh, someone lives. We're getting questions today. I love getting
Yeah, it's Terry.
questions. Okay, Terry says they live in Strawberry Plains and they fight to keep deer from their flowers. Um, they love deer love tulips, and I wish I had better news for you. Um,
But the deer do not love daffodils.
right, deer do not love daffodils, and so one of the strategies is to really put plants that they don't like to eat um, in a way that they can't easily see the plants they like to eat. And so, yeah, deer are hard to control. And so I know there's a publication about wildlife management that really talks about some of the strategies. But one of the strategies is, um, okay, this is one I've heard that I really do think it works. I personally don't have a lot of deer pressure. I've never had deer pressure at my property, but I know people who have. And so one of the strategies is to really look at what is the path they follow. Um, Plant some stuff near that to keep them going on that path. So what you would have is you would have the path that you want them to follow, which is like this. And then around it, real close to it, you would have some plants that they like to eat. Then the next layer would be a swath of plants they don't like to eat. And then you would have your desirable garden plants. And I don't know if you'd have the space to do that kind of thing. I know it's not always practical, though, in some areas. Yeah, Brian, did you have something?
No, I just one of the vendors just walked past
Oh,
me. She
okay.
waved, so I waved back.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, Brian is at Hardin Valley Event Center at the Pavilion Farmers Market.
Right.
So if you're in that area and want to go by and see him in person and ask some questions there, you can definitely do that.
We
One
will
more
be here
comment.
from 10 until 1.
Yeah. Terry, I know there is a book that is, I think it's 100 deer resistant plants is the book.
I'll
Um,
look for it. I'm going to
yeah, if you
volunteer,
can look
Terry.
for it, the title is something like that. And I believe the Knox County Library has that. And so if you want to look at that, also you can look for interviews either on YouTube or podcasts with the person who wrote that, and then you'll get a lot of information from that. I know there's quite a few interviews with her around, out online.
Her name is Ruth. Ruth Rogers was the lead author on that.
Okay.
And 50 beautiful deer-resistant plants. Terry, I can tell you iris are too, but you've probably
Mhm.
already researched this pretty extensively. I'm posting a
Yeah.
link to that book.
Right. And deer resistant doesn't mean that hungry deer that have been displaced by construction will not sample them. And, a group of deer, each one sampling plants can do a lot of damage. I think Brian's still waving at
Yes.
people at the
No, no,
market.
no, no, no. I
No,
have a comment.
yeah.
When we're talking about displaced deer or desperate deer,
Hmm.
I had a friend of mine who moved back in with her parents on. They lived on Canyon Lake. This is back in San Antonio, Texas,
Hmm.
and they have a built up deck
Hmm.
to their I think mobile home or what, I don't remember what at all, but it's
Okay.
you have to step up to go out to on this deck area.
Uh-huh.
The deck is lit. They've got patio chairs and stuff there, and they have plants in pots
Hmm.
in here. The deer, okay, um, will walk up the steps onto this lit porch and take a bite out of. Now, let me throw this other one at you: plastic plants.
Hmm.
And
They
they
will
would take a
sample
bite out
anything.
of the plastic plant, spit it out, go to the next one, take a bite out of that right
Oh
there.
gosh. Oh, they must have,
Um,
I mean, they must have been pretty desperate to do
oh
that.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
This Canyon Lake
mhm,
had dried down. Now this is a recreational lake. It's
mhm.
also a dam. Uh, was it a dam? Was it a dam lake?
I don't know.
You know. Anyway, uh, I had a photo of it. Now again, we know the relative size of a recreational lake right here.
Mhm.
Um, I have a photo of what's left of this lake is roughly about the size of two vehicles parked next to each other.
Oh gosh, so it was super dry.
Yes.
Yeah. So they were,
Um,
yeah, so
but it
desperate.
has yeah, it has since been has come back out with rains that
Mhm.
we've had for the last several years.
Yeah, but hungry deer will eat just about anything.
Yes,
Brian,
exactly.
I have a concern about putting plastic plants out for deer. You are going to be exposing deer to macroplastics with that. I don't think that sounds
Well,
too healthy for
I
them.
I don't think that was ever the intention there. They were going to have to find out like the soda sense lights or those sprayers,
Mhm.
motion detector sprayers or something like that right there. Um, and I don't know how far. I don't. The lady told me that they took a bite out of plant and spit it out.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing there's chunks of it that was laying on the deck right there,
Poor
as
Oh,
deer.
opposed to being consumed and then coming out the other end.
right. Poor deer.
Yeah,
They
really.
needed something to eat. One thing to remember with anytime you're dealing with wildlife that is harming the plantings you want, um, there is an element of they were here first, and how do we work with them?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because if you move an animal from its habitat, most animals cannot figure out how to find food and shelter, and they will die. And for most of the native wildlife, it is illegal to transport them. So, you know, I know you're not likely to get caught on it, but it is something, that is harmful to animals that were just trying to make a living. And so one of the wildlife resources officers, he's that used to come and talk to the master gardeners, he would talk about really work toward behavior modification. Try to get them to go through your property in a way that they're not likely to be drawn to the plants that you want. And he talked about using various repellents, and things that make it unpleasant. Capsaicin sprays was one he talked about. Things with what is it? Rotten egg solids in them.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
careful with that capsaicin right there.
Yes.
Never, ever, ever spray that on a windy day.
Oh, yeah.
That
Right.
is a
Yeah,
light breeze.
because it will repel you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
it can do damage to, your eyes and your nose and things like that.
I
And
was six
yeah.
foot 10 before I sprayed capsaicin. Now I'm 5'1.5".
You must have sprayed a lot of capsaicin there,
Yeah.
Brian.
It didn't need much for me.
Uh,
Well, I'm looking, Terry, at something that I'm going to post, which is a link
yeah.
to a resource out in California. But
Hmm.
it says that if there's a surplus of native plants in and around your garden,
Hmm.
ornamental plants may be largely left untouched. You can hope on that may part,
Yeah.
may be largely left untouched,
Hmm.
but that could be a strategy to try.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Something else,
probably working. Go ahead,
um,
Brian.
aromatic herbs um,
Rosemary.
are
Yeah.
very effective at repelling deer
Yeah.
if they're not too desperate.
Right.
And lavender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
my
Rosemary.
sister lives in an area where
Hmm.
deer come through all the time. And one of the things I've noticed in everybody's yard is rosemary and lavender.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
And it's the one thing that stays versus all the trees get trimmed
Hmm.
Yes.
neatly.
So Terry, I hope we've answered your question. I wish we had a, definite this is the thing to do and you will never have a problem, but we don't want to give false hope.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the slideshow. I don't mind deviating from the slideshow to talk about questions that folks have. So if you have a question, be sure to put it in the chat and we will see it and answer it as best we can. Okay, so daffodils are fading fast. Okay, so Terry's going to get more daffodils and try rosemary and lavender. One thing about lavender is make sure you plant it high. Lavender cannot stand to have its feet wet.
Right.
So
Yes.
oftentimes
Good
it's,
drainage.
go
Yeah.
ahead,
Good drainage. Yeah.
very good, excellent drainage.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're talking about rock garden type
Hmm.
drainage.
Yeah. So, if you are planting it in a bed, sort of just do a mound and plant the
Right.
lavender into the mound, that's a couple inches high, and that'll help it survive. Um, and I will tell you, rosemary, unless we have a really cold winter, can be a long-term perennial, 10 plus years. If we have a super cold snap, you can lose it. Like in 2022, most everyone around here lost their lavender, some of which were 15 years old. So it
Yeah.
can
And
grow into a large, long-standing shrub.
Right.
I had a rosemary that was 5 feet by 4 feet,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and it got lost that time.
Yep.
Although Stanley's is selling a variety of rosemary that goes to -10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know what variety it is?
Um,
'Cause that must be
I
new.
thought it was apps.
Is it
Was
ARP?
art? You're right. Yeah.
ARP. Okay. See, even the ARP died, but that was a situation where it had been fairly warm and then we had a sudden cold snap, so the plants weren't adapted to the cold
Yeah.
at all.
Well,
Okay, but that's a good idea.
one thing I warn people in the fall about getting anxious about pruning their shrubs and their plants back. Um, Even if we have dead material on our bushes and stuff like this right here, that dead material acts as an umbrella covering the
Mhm.
crown of that plant, um, and gives it a better chance of surviving.
Yep. Yeah. The other thing is oftentimes you have some on shrubs, rosemary usually not, but sometimes, but I know lavender, you quite often have some winter dieback. And if you have a plant, that's 2 feet tall and you prune it back to what you want it in the fall, maybe around a foot, and you prune it back, and then it has 6 inches of dieback, you end up having a 6-inch plant instead of your foot plant. But if you'd left that larger material there, you would have had 6 inches of dieback, but you still would have been able to prune it to the size you wanted it in the spring.
Right.
So for those, what is it, small shrubby plants, highly recommend waiting until spring to do the pruning on those when you're starting
Right.
to see growth and there's no significant cold snaps predicted. And so I guess one of the things we should talk about is, I'm going to deviate from our slideshow. I'm going to one of my favorite weather apps, and we are looking at some really cold temperatures coming up.
Yeah.
And it's difficult because we've been so warm. So let me go to the 10-day forecast. I'm going to the 10-day forecast, and then I'm going to share my screen so we can see that. And this is for Knoxville. Get that shared. There we go. Okay, so the 10-day forecast for Knoxville currently, and has been changing, but we're looking at on Monday night, it looks like, yep.
Right.
Monday night, they're predicting down to 23 degrees. That is a temperature that a lot of plants will see damage, and more worrisome, and we'll see some pictures of these, is the flowering trees, particularly the fruiting ones, trees and shrubs. Let's see if I can find. I'm going to just do a quick search if you all don't mind. I'm going to look up, and this is how you would find this information. The temperature at which flowers freeze is called critical temperature. Critical temperature.
I put a link in the
Blueberry.
in the comments if you wanted to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so this is, let's see, I'm going to see which one you found, because there are different ones. I don't want to accidentally. Oh, that does look like a really good one. Okay, so I'm going to open it up in the screen that I'm sharing. I do
Something
have.
years ago I talked to Dr. David Lockwood.
Mhm.
And of course at that time when I talked to him about that, we had a hard freeze and we had a
Yeah.
lot of budding and flowering and stuff. I said, is there any way we can protect these buds
Mm-hmm.
or do something for them? And he just sadly shook his head no.
Yeah. And
If
so
it starts, yeah.
right now my pear tree, I think you can see this, is in full bloom. And full bloom at 27 degrees, you lose 10% of the blossoms. At 23 degrees, you lose 90% of the blossoms. So I am probably, and I know my temperatures here, and I'm generally a couple degrees colder than predicted. So I am probably looking at no pears this year.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I know it's sad. Okay, there's cherry, and then you
Graphic.
have, what is it? Lee has a peach tree,
Right.
and so peaches look a little more tolerant.
Yeah.
Says, what is it? So yours are between pink and full bloom. Or
Right.
pink in first bloom.
Mine's right at pink. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this one says you lose 10% at 25, and you have to go all the way down to 15 degrees to lose 90% at pink stage. So I actually like a freeze where you lose about 50% of the bloom, because nearly all fruit trees way overproduce. And so
Right.
you end up having to thin the fruit. And so if we get some freeze, it actually saves you work. Now this one doesn't have the critical temperatures for blueberries. So let me look up. I know there are some good ones with photos, because I'm concerned about our rabbit eye blueberries. If you didn't know what people called it, it would be hard to think this is a good one, if I remember right. Yep. There's blueberries. Okay, so that's actually not the best one. So I've seen better ones. Because I like ones that are that chart where it shows, um, sort of across the different pictures. Let's see what this one shows us. Okay, bud swell, minor past bud swell, tight cluster, minor past that, and I can't remember where the really good chart is for those. Or I would look for that particular place. The other thing I've run into recently is sometimes things that existed 5 years ago and were easy to find are hard to find now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Frost and freeze damage on berry crops. But I am concerned about the blueberries. So this is just what frost and freeze damage looks like. That's not what we're looking for. Well, I am not finding it, so let's go back to the weather forecast.
Oh,
Now, if somebody is got a, like say a blueberry or other plant in a container,
Mhm.
uh, covering them overnight.
Actually, with the way it looks, that will probably work. You might, because it looks like, okay, let me look here. So it's going down. So which one is the temperature? This is, the blue is, I mean, okay, so yeah, I think covering it, because I think it is just going to be that one night.
Right.
Because it does depend how many hours it stays that cold.
Right. But they don't want to just like say if it's a
Mhm.
tree form, they don't want to cover just the tree branches. They need to bring their covering all the way down to the ground and
Right.
secure it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can do that, just do like a tent all the way to the ground over it.
Right.
Um, if it just goes down to that temperature for a couple of hours, you probably can just drape something over the top of it, but it is better, to have it going all the way to the ground.
Yeah.
And you can give it a few degrees, and it looks like in these situations, there's no way I can cover my pear tree. I'll show you the picture of it in a bit, but I could potentially cover my blueberries.
and have we talked about what we're covering them with, cloth versus plastic, and what to do in the morning?
Yeah, plastic does not protect from temperature. It
Right.
doesn't have, they talk about with insulation, there's that R value, that's how much it protects from from temperature change. Plastic basically doesn't have an R value, but a
It
fabric,
conducts heat.
right, it conducts heat. And so greenhouses work by trapping heat in the air. That's why they're warmer and they hold a volume of air. But plastic that you drape over a plant really lets that temperature through. you know, because you're looking at nighttime protection, there's no sun going on.
Right.
But fabric will actually does have an insulation value.
Right.
And if you're wondering what fabric, bed sheets work well.
Mm-hmm. Bed sheets, it's probably actually not going to be cold enough to need blankets. And sometimes they're a bit heavy. And you can break your
Yeah.
plant with a blanket. So you don't want to do that. But something lightweight, if it's really thin, like sheer curtains, you can double that. And that'll give it some, you know, just a few degrees of protection can make a difference. You know, things like daffodils are so fragile, you probably can't cover them. Speaking of daffodils,
What about some pine straw, wheat straw overnight?
um, you probably can't mound it up enough to protect daffodils,
Okay.
you know, because the flowers, you're not
Right.
worried about protecting the leaves,
Right.
but you're concerned about protecting the blooming flowers.
Right.
Yeah. And even small buds should be fine unless they're very yellow. You know, if the bud is yellow, um, and it's pretty much at its full height, I would say cut that and bring it in because it'll open inside. Okay, next topic. I'm sure everyone's seeing a lot of these. Lee took this picture, and do you want to talk about it?
Oh, this is my cute little henbits. A lot of people consider them weeds, but I went to a ecological gardening seminar, and the instructor said it's lovely flowers for the bees and produces seeds for the birds, and I think it's pretty.
Mhm,
And so I encourage it to grow in my pollinator garden.
mhm. And it does have a close relative called purple spotted dead nettle
Uh-huh.
that does the same functions. Yeah. And then, okay.
I think something we might want to mention here when
Mhm,
we talk about the word weeds right here, that's so negative to most people. But weed is any plant that's not where you want it at that time. It has nothing to do with the variety or the species or anything else. It's your attitude right there.
mhm. Yeah.
Harry's
Uh,
got a question, guys.
yeah, I saw that. He's asking about spraying water for the frost. Um, that is a really specific process that you have to do for it to work. They do sometimes, and it's not just spray, it's almost like a mist. And they're trying in Florida when they have a freeze, when the oranges are at certain oranges or orange blossoms are at certain stages, they can do water mist sprays to keep the blossoms from freezing. But to have that work takes really takes having the right equipment for that because it's more of a mist spray than, you know, spray like you would do from your hose. And they keep that going. If I understand the process, they keep it going like the whole time the frost is happening. And so they're essentially misting that whole garden, that whole orchard space.
Yeah.
And a home gardener, that is, we just don't have the equipment to do that.
Right.
And so it's
Some
not practical.
In Oregon, I lived across
yes.
the street from a pear
Mhm.
orchard, and they use smudge pots.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
Smoke. Yeah.
yeah, and
Something
so
else which you guys are talking about, the misting part right there. A number of people go outside on a frosty morning and it
mhm,
got frost on the plants and they want to get their hose out and water melt the frost or any
mhm,
ice right there. And that can kill the plant, the shock from the
right.
temperature change. right there. So it's best to let the sun shine.
To let it gradually thaw.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes when it's frozen, the plants are brittle and you end up breaking them,
Yeah.
breaking pieces off that if they thawed naturally, they would be fine.
Right.
Yeah, I wish it were something that would work, but there's so many. One of our, I think Dr. Lockwood, someone asked him a question about it, and he said it's just not practical for a home gardener in there's so much that goes into getting it to work. But it's a great
Right.
question because I don't think I was the one who asked it, but it was a question that I did have. And I got the answer, and it's not practical for home
Right.
gardeners. Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about what a weed is. And a weed doesn't define a particular plant. It defines its position related to what we want.
Right.
So a weed is any plant in the wrong place.
Right.
And so, a beautiful rose in a vegetable garden could be a weed. Not that it
Okay.
would be likely to pop up, but it could be. And so, a plant in a place that we don't want it can be a weed. There are plants with what's called weedy characteristics that put out a lot of seed, but that's sort of a different thing. So I agree with Lee. I do like henbit and spotted dead nettle because they hold ground really well. And as we move into summer, they really die back to nearly nothing. Chickweed is another one that's in that same category. It's actually more fragile as far as a plant. And if you have pets or children, these are plants you don't really have to worry about with pets and children because they aren't toxic and they are edible, though I have tried henbit and spotted dead nettle, and they are not very tasty, in my opinion. Chickweed is pretty nice, actually. It's another one. And anytime you're considering eating a plant, make sure you have positive identification on it,
Yes.
that you are absolutely positive what the plant is. The other thing is to look up what are common look-alike plants. That's good to know. The henbit and the spotted dead nettle, I really don't know anything that looks like them. If you see, these little cupped leaves, except a much larger plant, because these do almost have the same look as foxglove, which is quite toxic, but it's much, much bigger. Okay, so let's go on to, we were talking about the violets.
Another edible plant
Mm-hmm. And host plant
and
for
a great native.
Yeah. Yeah, host plant for I think the variegated fritillary butterfly, if I can say that, and probably some other butterflies. And what's interesting is both me and Lee took pictures of them in our gardens. They make speaking of ground cover, violets are a wonderful ground cover, and you really don't have to worry about them. They will really hold the ground. They look pretty in green through the entire year. And so I
Although our
actually,
really, really cold weather, all
mhm,
my violets died back.
they
But
did.
but they all came back again
Oh,
once it
cool.
warmed up. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I would actually recommend them over lamb's ear.
Yes.
They'll be a lot easier. Um, the only thing you might run into with them is they might pop up. They might be one of the things that there will be places that they're a weed. You're the one with the shovel, and you can remove them when they pop up where you don't want them.
But you got to get the whole root.
Yes. And they do make a little tubery thing
Mhm.
underground.
Mhm.
Okay. Lee, this is yours.
It is. My asparagus is coming up. Woohoo!
Yay. Mine is more sheltered. It's not up yet.
Yep. Yep. And this is what it looked like before I trimmed it back, which is the next
Okay. Oh, what are these here?
Oh, those are walking Egyptian onions
Oh, cool. And then is that
and
leeks?
garlics.
Oh,
Mhm.
garlic.
Yep.
Lovely.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
And then
that's
so now
cleaned
I've
up.
cleared the bed of all the dead asparagus leafing from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then
Okay.
I took a picture at the UT Gardens this week
Yeah.
of their asparagus bed.
And you can see theirs has been sprouting for a while. One thing to know, if you go visit UT Gardens, if you look on a map, it's almost entirely surrounded by the Tennessee River, and it's just literally, places it's not even 100 feet from the river. And so they are actually between a half zone and a zone warmer than the rest of Knoxville because of the water effect. And so if you go there, you will notice the plants there are generally in the spring a couple weeks ahead of everything else. And so this asparagus bed is probably a couple weeks ahead of yours, Lee.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
And then my community garden, I planted some here about a month ago some onion seeds, and they're coming up. And one of the things I have to do is I got to cover them up to protect them from Monday and Tuesday night low temperatures.
Mhm. Now, will you cover your other onion crops?
No, my adult ones don't care. The seedlings are the
Mhm.
ones that care.
Yeah. And sometimes those tiny seedlings are just fragile. Oh, and this is a different kind of onion that I really like. This is Japanese bunching onion, and they're making little flower heads. This is my I never have to buy green onions at the store planter. And so what I do to harvest them is I actually bring a knife out and I cut them at the soil line and they regrow. And so this pot has been going for years. It's about the size of a wine barrel. It, it's a 40, I think it what 40 quart feed bucket. And I've drilled holes in it so that it drains. But that is I never buy green onions at the store bucket. And so it's lovely to just walk out and just pick some. And the flower heads are also edible. And so it's nice. Okay, Lee.
Okay, so this is what I'm in my garden. I'm covering up and protecting my kale and collard green seedlings with. And then
Okay.
the next one shows you
Oh, let's talk about this is plastic,
yeah, it's plastic.
but
It's a
it's
plastic
also
bucket.
holding a volume of air
Yeah, it
in
is.
it.
Mhm.
And Lee, do you take that cover off during the daytime?
Sometimes if it's a nice day, but lately the bunnies have been wanting to eat my seedlings.
Oh
And so
no.
I've been covering it a little bit more.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
do have to be careful on these sunny days to not cook your seedlings
Yeah.
because it can get really hot under there.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
There are my little seedlings. And then there's a close up. Yep.
Cool. What are they?
Kale and collard.
Nice.
Hmm.
And it is pretty important as gardeners to learn when you seed your vegetables to know what they look like, to know what the little seed leaves look like. So these are the seed leaves, the little first leaves that come up. And as you start to grow plants, you'll learn that. Oftentimes I tell people when you direct sow plants into the soil, take a little pot of a sterile potting mix and put a few seeds in there so that you can see what those seed leaves look like. Because one year I planted these beautiful poppies, and I had never planted poppies before, and I didn't know what the seed leaves look like. And I didn't do the thing of planting a few in a container. Oh, if you do that and you're planting them directly into the ground, leave your container outside. So it's got pretty much the same conditions. And a month or so later, I went out and weeded nearly all of my poppy seedlings out because I didn't know what they were. And so I always tell people, if you're planting something that you've never planted before, from seed, do that. And especially if you're doing like a wildflower mix, and then you'll know what are the plants that you want to keep, because you'll never get rid of all the seed that's in the ground. We call that the soil seed bank. You'll never get rid of all that. And so you want to know, these are the plants that I planted versus the plants that nature planted that I might not want. Oh, there's more of leaves. So Lee, we have your arugula.
Yeah, so I have arugula that's down at the bottom, and then I have my 2 parsleys that have survived the winter.
Okay, and so you can see them. And that's another one, you get to know what your seedling, what the baby plants look like when they're just coming back in the spring. So
No,
that's the
that's not a
parsley.
baby. It was a full-grown plant.
Right.
But the bunch of the leaves all died back in the winter.
Right, it
But
died to
then
the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you get to know what things look like. And then here's the arugula, which if I didn't know, I would know that something in the, what is it, chicory family. But I might think that's a weed if I didn't know.
And my arugula self-seeds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, here's,
This
well,
is
that's leaves.
my peach bloom that
Yeah.
will at 23 degrees will lose 10%.
Right. And losing 10% is no problem. You can see,
Nope.
what is it? So the rule of thumb for peaches is you don't want them any closer than like a fist apart. And you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flower buds right in here probably. And so you would have to thin out,
inch off.
2 out of 3 of them.
Yeah,
And so
but
if the weather does
I'm
that for
not.
you,
Yeah, I'm not going to thin them till after Tuesday.
yeah. Well, then they actually say to wait until they're maybe marble size,
Oh yeah, true.
and thin them just to make sure, because sometimes it can look like there's a fruit, but it hasn't pollinated, and it's going to fall off anyway. So you want to wait until, they are starting, the little baby peaches are starting to grow. And then this is my pear tree, which is obviously in full bloom. You see those beautiful open flowers. And so the pear,
Bradford pear.
no, this is Kiefer pear. This is an edible pear, which some people think it's a little bit grainy, and it is, but I really like it for cooking and for dehydrating. But there's no way I could cover this. And so I don't know how it's going to fare with the freeze. I have noticed this particular pear tree does tend to hold back some buds and not open them till later. So maybe I will have some buds that open later. So we'll have to see.
Did you prune that to thin it out?
It needs to be pruned massively. So I didn't get to pruning it this year. And it looks like is that a cardinal in there? Gotta go look. Nope, that's not a cardinal. It's just something red. Okay, next show. This is my rabbit eye blueberries, and I couldn't find what the critical temperatures were for it. But you can see some of these buds are, you know, the essential of the pink stage for the um, peach tree. And so I'm not sure if they're at a vulnerable, really vulnerable stage. These ones that are fully closed will be fine.
I did find the Michigan State resource you were looking for that shows the pictures of
Oh,
blue
cool.
various stages, which is like the classic resource, and
Mhm.
it's posted in our comments.
Oh, good. So did you see what was the temperature for the blueberries? Let me see if I can find where you posted it.
I hope you can, because if I go back, I'll never figure out how to get where I am.
Right. I see the trees. I see.
I think it was the last resource on blueberries we posted.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Walking onions, dead nettle.
I put it in the chat for you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, let me copy link and let me put it up here where folks will be able to see it. Okay, is that the right one?
Oh,
That's the
No, that's the
horticulture one.
managing blueberries one.
Yeah, no, I put
back.
Oh,
go
okay.
go the next
Okay,
chat.
the next one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. Okay. Try that again. That one, critical temperatures for berry crops.
Mm, I don't think that's it either. I'll go.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. The tight buds, tight clusters can take down. See, mine aren't tight clusters anymore. Um, so I don't know. I think they're fairly likely to be vulnerable, but not, some of them are still at this stage where they're pretty tight. So if we go back to the picture, you can see, you know, some of them are that really tight stage. I think I might lose these ones that are open more. But
Mary
if I,
Barlini said hello to us.
oh, hi, Mary. Okay, and then
oh, here.
everyone has garden mysteries. This is my lilac bushes, and they're getting these white patches on them, and I'm a little concerned. And I did some looking up, and it said it's probably lichens, and if it's lichens, it's not a problem. So we'll see, but it does seem to be clustered in certain areas. So I will have to look at that more, and I will get back to you.
I posted it in chat.
Oh,
And
good,
posted it in Zoom there.
because it actually looks like in some areas the bark is coming off. And so, and basically the life of the life of a tree or shrub is just under the bark. And so generally if the bark gets significantly damaged, then that tree or shrub, that branch is damaged. So I'll keep you posted. This green stuff here is actually Japanese honeysuckle that has invaded this area. And so I need to get that out. It's not the lilac starting to come out, though it is coming out a little bit up here. Let's see. Oh, this is one of those little subshrubs. Let's see, every spring you get concerned about frost on our plants. Yes, we do. That was Mary said that. And you know, if it's 35, if it's 25 or above, I'm not real concerned about things, but when it gets down under that 25 level, plants can be harmed more. This is one of those small shrubby herbs. This is winter savory that Margot actually gave me a while ago. And so you can see there's some dead in here, and it's actually on a cart. I did bring it in when we had some really cold temperatures earlier this year, and I haven't moved it back off. I probably will not bring it in for this cold snap. It's not cold
It's,
enough, and
it's pretty hardy.
yeah, it's pretty hardy. It's actually planted outside in the herb spiral at UT Gardens and seems to be doing fine.
I never cold protected. It just
Yeah.
exists.
I would when I get people who are buying plants
Mhm.
spontaneously. I know y'all don't know anything about that right there. Um, but I adjure people, I implore them to
Mhm.
research this plant and
Yes.
find out what its high heat is, how much sunshade,
Mhm.
drainage, stuff like this, but also cold hardiness.
Yeah.
Um, so we at least know. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And if you're going to put a plant in a container, okay, they list usually the zone hardiness of a plant, and that tells you the lowest winter temperatures it's likely to survive. If you're putting a plant in a container, it needs to be 2 zones colder than where we are to survive well outside
Right.
That's great
in a
advice. I never heard
container. Yeah, that's just the rule of thumb on that. Um, and so you wouldn't put a zone 7 plant, which would survive in the ground here, you wouldn't want to put that in a container outside where you had to leave it outside. You would want it to be maybe a zone 5 plant, and then it would be fine leaving it outside. And so that's just the rule of thumb on that. That's some of why, in the ground, the winter savory has been fine, but this winter savory is in a container. And so that's why I'm sort of pulling it in. I don't know if it needs it, but I haven't had it long enough. I think this
People
year I'm
don't.
actually going to put some in the ground.
it
Yeah,
doesn't.
Brian.
It's pretty well behaved. Brian?
Okay.
Um, Need to keep in mind just right along the lines of what you're talking about. People think that we are freezing here on the surface above the soil line, but if they dig down our little temperature probe and go just a few inches below the soil line, it's a lot warmer.
Mm-hmm.
So plants that are established in the ground right there have a much better plant chance of surviving
Yes.
than something in a pot or yeah.
Yep, definitely. So in the ground. The other thing is, if you plant a plant in the ground in the spring, it's going to have a much better chance of surviving the winter than if you plant it in the ground in the fall.
Now,
Because
Mary
it'll,
commented that we still have a lot of leaves protecting my plants that are coming up, and plenty
mhm.
of leaves protecting the ones in containers that I didn't get planted in the ground in the fall.
Yeah, and leaves can be great protection for plants. Aha, here's some more information about the blueberries, and this does give all the pictures, so I'm going to share that.
And after that, we probably have to wrap up. It's 9:59.
Okay, we just have a couple more photos on our slideshow, and so we'll go with, okay, I'm going to pull this open a little more.
Margot, are you leafing?
I have to leave to the shoe repair place pretty prompt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So they're saying, what is it? When it's in bud break stage, it can actually go down to 20 degrees. That's not what I expected. But a lot of mine are in some of mine are in what's called, they're calling it early pink and even late pink. Oh, they're saying 24 to 27 degrees. So they're pretty vulnerable right now. So the ones that are more open, I'm fairly likely to lose. The ones that are more closed are probably going to be okay. So I won't have quite a great blueberry harvest this year, but it should be okay. Okay, so coral honeysuckle, which is a nice native vine. You do need to give it good support because it is a fairly heavy plant, and but it is beautiful. and it is native. I'm hearing something talking like in the background, and I'm not sure what it is, but it's not coming through the speakers, so I don't know what's going on. Okay, so that's coral honeysuckle, nice native vine. If you have it, you need to do a robust trellis for it, or it will pull it down. This one has pulled down the trellis, and I need to do some maintenance on it. This is, what is it? Be sure you know what's coming up. This is actually the leaves, first leaves coming up of my Virginia bluebells. And I looked maybe a week ago, and I was looking in the area they were in and couldn't even find them. But now they're up. I'm not concerned about them with the cold temperatures. They should be fine. And this is Lee's.
Yeah, this is my witch hazel, and the next picture shows you a close-up of the witch hazel bloom.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. And then another happy thing that was in my garden that I saw today is there are bluebirds in my house. I actually think these are the first fledglings because they were just sitting there and the colors don't look very bright. And the adults, the colors are very bright. And so a little over a month ago, I saw some adults going in and out of the house. And bluebirds are very quick to go from egg to fledgling, egg to fledgling. They don't waste time on that. Okay, well, it has been great talking to you all. What is it? Hope you have a good week in your garden. Be sure to keep yourself warm on that really cold night. And, you know, we've already given you some ideas about covering plants. If you have daffodils that are blooming, I would highly suggest just going ahead and picking them and making a really nice bouquet because they are likely to get frosted on Monday night. And then it looks like after Monday night, we're getting back to, you know, above freezing temperatures for the rest of at least the 10-day forecast.
Yeah.
And so we will see you back on, I think it's the 28th. And happy gardening, everyone. Bye.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good weekend. Yeah.
Let's see, I haven't stopped the stream. Let me stop the stream.